22nd.
It's every time.
Every time. I welcome everyone to our December 22nd Rush Town Board meeting. Will you please join me for our salute to our flag? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Will the clerk call the roll, please?
Councilwoman Corbin,
Here.
Councilman Lang,
Here.
Councilwoman Whittingham,
Here.
Councilman Wilbur,
Here.
Supervisor Cusick,
Here. And I only have one announcement, and that was sent out to the board members in an email 2 days ago. The state has passed a law that allows us, if we want to give up to a 10% reduction in the assessment of a firefighter or emergency medical person home assessment if they live in the town of Rush. So you'll be seeing that come up in the not too distant future, I hope, because I am very supportive of it. And we will be voting on that, hopefully. And the fire department has been notified. They're going to supply our assessor with addresses of the properties that are owned and resided in by firefighters and emergency people. And I think that's a good thing that we've got to look forward to. Thank you. We can go for the public comment period now. Remember the 3-minute rule in this first period where you get to make a comment, but you don't get to ask a question. And please be respectful of those ears that may be around you. Thank you.
Supervisor, I apologize for interrupting. I have the building inspector on my phone trying to get in because we had a little technical difficulty. So I don't want anyone to think I'm rude if I pick up my cell phone to help him get on.
Well, we need him here.
I know, so he probably clicked on the same link I did, so I will get him on.
Okay.
I will be listening now.
Do we have anyone in this audience who would like to make a public comment? Yes, sir, please.
Thank you.
Stand up to the podium, state your name and address.
My name is John Morelli. I live at 535 Five Points Road. And, I made copies of these for the board. It's probably longer than I'll be able to speak. Thank you.
He doesn't like me.
Who, me? Did I not give you one?
That's okay.
I'm sorry. Did you share that?
We will share.
I
That's fine.
don't know. I'm sorry. This is about Helios. At the town board meeting on December 8th, Helios project manager Charles Yarlagata declared it is impossible to meet the standard, the town standard, for any solar farm anywhere that you cannot see anything. He has also said that the Helios facility would be partially visible through the woods behind the Woodruff homes, and that the facility could not be screened without a 60-foot wall on the west. So this is all in the recordings that we have. During the spring and the summer of 2019, I was part of a team that included then council persons Dan Wollover and Rita McCarthy, town attorney John Mancuso, Residents United members Amber Corbin, John Cannon, and Residents United attorney Ben Wisniewski. Our charge is to develop strategies to revise our town solar law so as to better coincide with the needs and the character of the town. Our specific goal is to develop standards for the safe provision of solar energy systems in order to protect the natural and aesthetic character of the town with special attention to open space vistas, farmland, neighboring property owners. We developed or enhanced 18 strategies now presented under 120-74H of this town solar law, including number 10, which said the tier 3 solar energy system shall be completely screened from any adjacent property. And to do this, we would need or require at least 2 rows of native evergreen trees capable of forming a continuous hedge at least 14 feet in height at planting, and this shall be required and maintained. We understood that all properties in Rush would not, in fact, be able to satisfy this criterion, and discussed the fact that low-lying properties, hillside properties, and perhaps hilltops would be likely to fall in this category. The town law regarding solar energy systems was thus amended and was passed. In December 2019, as a member of the planning board, I participated in the review of the proposed Werner solar facility. I recall determining that this property appeared a likely candidate because of its characteristics of being fairly level and screenable. The proposal did in fact meet the screening criterion. In fact, the landscape plan shows 3 rows of trees being used to meet this end, but the project has been received approval to proceed. So this situation is not at all clear with the Helios proposal. Well, November 11, 2021,
You got 1 minute, John.
viewshed analysis submitted by the applicant claims that the proposed solar facility will meet this criterion. A quick drive up Woodruff reveals this is not so. On the back, there's a photograph overlaying the Helios submittal, showing that you could see through the trees at this point. This was 2 days ago I took this photograph. And you can see up that hill. The facility will not be completely screened from adjacent properties. The declaration by Helios project manager is that it's impossible to meet that standard, verifies this concern. So I guess, what I'm saying is, as designed, the proposed Helios project fails to meet the screening criterion, which is part and parcel of the town solar law, and therefore must be denied. I do believe that there is some possibilities up on that property, but the way it's laid out now seems to not meet that at all.
Thank you. If you'd like to continue during the second comment session, feel free to do so.
Okay, so I left you some additional things that you could look at as well.
Thank you. Would anyone on Zoom like to participate in the comment session?
At this point, there is no one on Zoom, but if in a few minutes, if you'd like to, please put your name in the chat with your address, and we will invite you. And at this point, there's no one.
Anyone else in this room? Name and address, please.
Good evening. My name is Janet Blocker and I live at 791 Rush Henrietta Town Line Road. My comments are also about Helios and our local solar laws provisions. At the last town board.
Nobody cares, you skinny little fat white bitch.
Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. You have to, you've got
We
to.
don't care.
Oh, you can put a picture up. That was.
Actos to Barclay ahora. Nigger, put it in me, little stick it in me, put it in my dick. Oh, yeah, harder. Oh, fuck me. Anyone there?
Right. It's
I'm still
Oh.
waiting for the owl.
I'm getting a couple of
Go to the town
meetings
calendar. Yes, meeting,
under meetings.
and click on that one.
Town, oh. 22, there we go.
Can Mrs. Blocker proceed?
Yes.
No, that,
The operator said yes, so have at
let's
it.
get,
please.
All right.
yeah,
At the last town board meeting, the Helios developer said that it was impossible to comply. Later saying that he would follow Forefront's lead since Rush is moving forward with the Forefront project. It's important that our town be consistent with solar because our town cares about renewable energy. Numerous planning documents and town committees have made that obvious. But we are also consistent with respect to a parcel's suitability for tier 3 solar. I can document 4 proposals in varying stages of planning that were not suitable. The first project was at the corner of Works Road and number 6 Road, and that proposer said that he would need 5 to 7 variances in order to make his project work. I can't find that discussion in the town board minutes, but I was attending that meeting. On October 23rd in 2019, a project on the north side of Fishel Road was proposed, and Councilwoman McCarthy stated that this was a 100-acre project and therefore did not conform. On November 13th of 2019, the minutes note that Mr. Mancuso said that although there were various projects in the pre-application stage, 2 were not allowed under our local solar law. One was the Krenzer project and one was referred to as project. Both were in R20 districts. In conclusion, as we look at the Helios parcels suitability, let's maintain our consistency with respect to and our careful adherence with our local solar law. A happy and healthy new year to everyone. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone on Zoom?
There is no one on Zoom at this time.
Would anyone else here like to speak? Okay, we can proceed with the meeting. I have received no correspondence. And can we have the approval of minutes?
Supervisor, the minutes did not come in until late this afternoon. I did not get a chance to read them. I don't know if anyone else did, so I would not be able to comment on them.
nope,
No comments on the minutes.
well, we can't,
I understand.
okay.
Thank you.
Shall we table them to the next meeting?
Well, we obviously will have to, because we can't approve them now, and they are an important piece of this process. So we can move on to Councilperson Wickerham's approval of the budget transfers.
Okay. All right. Council moves to be it resolved that having audited all of the unexpended appropriations, I move that transfers number 49 through 57 in the amount of $14,418.78 be approved. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
I have a couple of concerns before we move into approving them. We currently have 8 more accounts over budget. We discussed this the last time. There were several accounts over budget at that point. And my question at that point was, this is becoming a habit and an issue where more and more accounts are over budget when there's still payments that need to be coming out of them. Has the finance director figured out a program that will, or at least a plan to make sure that all of these accounts with these recurring debits coming out of them are well supplied at the beginning of the year, so that we are not taking out of the assessor's account, we're not taking money out of the general repairs fund, we're not taking money out of the library to supplement these, and that it's a concern of mine because there's 8 more this time.
Well, your first 2 comments were well received and I understand them. I will respond to them first. The issue is whether or not the balances in those accounts will be healthy for 2022. And the answer to that is yes. The issue that we also have is, you mentioned taking money out of the assessor's account. Well, it's as simple as this. If the assessor's account has $10,000, and that's not an accurate figure, it's just an example, and he has no more expenditures for the balance of this year, and someone else has an expenditure, what's wrong with taking it from there? It's a common practice. Number 3, depending on how you budget, and I've been sensitive about this, if you budget very conservatively, you run the likelihood of having to ask for a fund balance toward the end of the year to cover any expenses that you didn't accommodate in your budget projection. So if you budget very liberally, you probably are flush with money like the assessor was and end up with a several $1,000 balance at the end of the year. As you know, you've heard me preach and preach and preach again about being very conservative. Well, this is one area where I may have to back up on that because I don't know what the future brings. I don't have a crystal ball, and none of the department heads have a crystal ball either. So we'll have to see how that works. But the one thing I can state for sure is there will be no, because of these budget transfers, which you're referring to, there will be no shortage of funds in 22. Unless, of course, someone foolishly spends some money that they weren't expecting to spend. That could happen. It does happen, not in Rush, but it has happened elsewhere. So I'm confident that what we've got going into 22 will be sufficient.
My concern is that several times over the past 3 months, we have had to take money out of other accounts to pay the workers' comp. And when I am doing the abstract and looking at that, there is a set amount every other month that we pay in workers' comp contributions. And that, I mean, if we get that projection at the beginning of the year, then that total amount should be put into that account so that every other month when we're paying that, the money is in there. We have allocated appropriately to that particular account. That is the thing that I have noticed the past 3 or 4 months, is that these recurring payments that we have every couple of months, they're a set amount and they're the same amount long. Shouldn't we have those accounts up to that particular amount so that we are not borrowing from some other to help pay for them. That is my concern. And that's all I'm asking is that going forward, things like that are looked at and managed and accounted for. My question was, is the finance director putting a plan together to do just that?
I cannot quote word for word that the finance director is putting together a plan to compensate for that. I can't speak for her. I won't answer for her. I will only tell you that she is aware. She knows that historically, our finance directors have done budget transfers. If you've been around.
Yeah, I understand that. And yes, I understand that there does
I don't
come a
like
time.
being talked over. Thank
Yeah,
you.
yeah.
If you were around to monitor those budget proceedings, you would find out that budget transfers were not uncommon. I'll admit that we probably have had more this year. But what you've got to do is get into the year that you're budgeting for and see what happens to the funds in those budgets at that time.
Well, and what I'm saying is that you, as the supervisor, are the chief financial officer of the town. And it is ultimately the supervisor's responsibility to make sure that that happens. She reports to you as far as the finances. That's a fact. So
I
I-
have shared all of the concerns that we have had and voiced to her.
Yeah.
And she is very well aware of what needs to be worked on. And, you know, this goes back to her training. There wasn't sufficient training. The additional training that I requested was rejected. She's still working on it. She's a meticulous finance person, and I thank goodness for that. What we are going to do is what you've asked for, but we're also going to straighten up the finances that she inherited and make sure that everything is copacetic the way it should be per the state controller.
Okay, that's all I'm asking.
It's all in the plan.
Councilwoman Corbin,
Aye.
Councilman Lang,
Aye.
Councilwoman Wickerham,
Aye.
Councilman Wilbur,
Aye.
Supervisor Cusie.
Aye.
Okay, so the abstract. I move, having reviewed all vouchers, 1120 through 173 in the amount of $40,852.63 be approved for payment. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Councilwoman Corbin,
Aye.
Councilman Lang,
Aye.
Councilman Wilbur, excuse me.
Aye.
Councilwoman Wickerham,
Aye.
Supervisor Cusie.
Aye.
I know that people can't hear me, so I'm trying to,
That's okay.
it's not on there.
Understand. I also noticed, Councilperson Wickerham, that I think this is the lowest abstract of the year. I'm not sure, but I think it was either the lowest or one of the low. And
Yeah, there was only one very large, and that was for the asphalt for Fischel. It was over $9,000.
oh yeah,
So that was the only big one.
so we're ending on a high note,
Well,
Low, I know.
kind of.
kind of. Well, it's either is or isn't. I think it is. So we can proceed with that and make sure that we are compliant in 22. All right, we can move on to reports from the board members and departments. And we will start tonight with Deputy Supervisor Corbin.
Thank you, Supervisor. I just want to has anyone gotten any other texts, emails, board members here that they're not able to get on? I've had a couple that have, are you good? Okay, perfect. Thank you for that. I attended the Library Board of Trustees meeting last night. As always, the library board meetings are extremely productive and they get a great deal of work done. So it was a good December meeting. Also, the Rush seniors were on a trip the day that the COVID test kit distribution took place. And I got a call that some of our seniors that were on the trip were unable to get here to that early morning to get their kits. So I did reach out to Rick Tracy, and he allowed me to come in and pick up some kits, and I met the bus when they arrived at the fire hall. I might have missed a couple, but at least we were able to get them to those that I was able to connect with. And that is it.
I can piggyback on that and say that I received an inquiry yesterday from the County Emergency Preparedness Coordinator who wanted to know how many kits we have left. And I gave him a complete rundown based on the number of kits we got, how many we needed, which was a subjective guess. And he also revealed that I believe it's the federal government is going to flood the US with kits. So if you don't have a kit and we have run out, hang on, because you're going to get kits according to what he told me, which is good news. We can move on to Councilperson Woolaver.
No report.
No report. How about Councilperson Wickerham?
I do have a report. I attended the Zoning Board of Appeals meeting where they granted a variance and also had fulfilled their obligation for annual trainings. Our town attorney, John Mancuso, provided training on the seeker process. We went through the long form and it was pretty educational, even though most of the time the zoning board doesn't do those, but a couple of the planning board members were in that training, so they do. I also attended the planning board meeting last night and they approved an application for addition to the solar tower here on campus with some extremely interesting conditions. Also, I don't mean to contradict, but we did receive other correspondence and we received correspondence from the manager of Horseshoe Solar asking that the town, she's asked several times, asking the town to consider conversations about entering into a road use agreement, as well as providing a resolution to the board to voice their support in the Horseshoe applying for a tax abatement with Monroe County IDA. Kate has reached out to the board in good faith to give the town an opportunity to benefit from the project. Whether you like it or not, or whether you believe it or not, Horseshoe will be built in this town. And they have asked us to enter into a road use agreement. The agreement makes very clear that Horseshoe bear the cost of repairs and maintenance of Gola Road during the construction phases, but also for any repairs needed during the life of the project, as well as any damage resulting of decommissioning. But not even considering this agreement, the town is accepting responsibility for the cost of the repairs that may be necessary after the project is complete. And are we really willing to spend taxpayer money on something that could have been paid for by the company? Horseshoe has also asked the town to support their Monroe County IDA application. The town support is not necessary, but in my opinion, any resistance in supporting this application further removes any opportunity for financial benefits from the project. I believe the town residents deserve our consideration for both of these resolutions. I ask that both of these resolutions be added to tonight's agenda and let the board members decide their fate. We also received correspondence from the attorney for the Helios project. And in essence, they are reminding the town that we have declared lead agency back in August, and we had 20 days to make a determination. They submitted documents in September, they submitted documents in November, and we are well past the 20 days of determination, and they are asking us to make a determination tonight. They are well within their right to ask that before filing an Article 78 against the town. So I am requesting that both of the resolutions be put on the agenda tonight to discuss, as well as considering from Hodgson's Rush in making a determination. And that is the end of my report.
I thank you very much, and I think your report is deserving of my response. I was told about the letter that Councilperson Wickerham refers to. I did not receive a copy, so I cannot comment on the letter.
Which one?
One from their
Horseshoe
attorney,
or which attorney? Horseshoe.
the one you talked about. And the second thing I want to comment on is I have been advised by our attorney in such matters to not respond to that, to not get into any kind of agreement or discussion. And that is the way I proceed with this meeting. I remember years ago, and I'll explain, years ago, I was in a meeting where the state attorney general was. And his comment was to a person who asked the question, how important is it to pay attention to your attorney's advice? And he said, well, it's as simple as this. If your attorney advises you and you talk to a bunch of your friends and all of a sudden decide that they know more than he does and you choose to disregard his advice, you are in the hot seat if it's bad that comes out of that. On the other hand, if your attorney advises you and the advice is wrong and you follow it, your attorney holds the hot coals for that, not anyone else. So you're safe. And that's exactly the safety that I choose to net myself in.
Well, it is my understanding that the attorney that would be negotiating both of these or advising on both of these requests from Horseshoe is not the attorney who is working for, being paid for by intervenor funds. That is just for the Article 10/Section 94C in preparing documents to submit to the state the town's position. It is my understanding it would be the town attorney that we would work through to negotiate, whether it be the road use agreement or any type of agreement that had to do with IDA grant monies and pilots.
That is not my understanding. I set the agenda for this meeting and I choose not to acknowledge that. Thank you. How about Councilperson Lane?
Hey. I also attended the zoning board of appeals meeting on December 9th, which included one application for review, as Councilperson Wickham indicated, for a area variance on a property. Also attended the training on the seeker review by Attorney Mancuso, which was an excellent training session. On December 13th, attended the December comprehensive plan meeting as liaison. They utilized the session as a regroup session. They've been working towards trying to get an RFP together. It's been a project, to say the least. They discussed improving lines of communication, possibility of adding additional members, hosting another community event, and I believe you had a meeting, perhaps, I think, with our two co-chairs in the most recently. So I don't know the outcome or what was discussed at that, but in going forward, the next meeting would be, I believe, January 2nd, if that's set, and continues to be the second Monday of the month. And then on December 21st, I attended the planning board meeting as well. There was a application to add a dish antenna on the top of the tower outside, and with conditions, it was approved. However, the conditions were pretty limiting. They want to make sure our sidewalk remains intact. That's the big thing. So, and I think it'll be done, no problem. But that'll continue. And they also had some discussion and they were not in favor of moving the meeting date that's been set, like on the, what was the last night? Third Tuesdays of the month. So they did not particularly care about that as much. And I just have one recommendation, and I'd like to see incoming town board member Morelli placed as a liaison directly with their finance director, given her expertise. That would be very helpful to cut down on all this discussion on budgets. That's it.
You realize there's a world of difference between private CPA enterprise and municipal budgeting.
It comes down to debits and credits. I'm full aware of.
Well,
accounting
I'm
procedures.
aware of that, very well aware of that, but it's,
Highly qualified person coming in, so.
it's more than that. So I hope you recognize that. How about Town Clerk Busey? Do you have a report?
I do. I did attend the Monroe County Town Clerks meeting this month. It was very beneficial, and we do have just a few kits left for the COVID shots. A lot of people have been calling and coming in to pick them up. I also submitted the monthly report to the supervisor for the month of November with a check for $10,568.22. And local revenues went out to the state for $1,321.76. That's it.
Thank you. I do want to mention, because you are the collector of dog license fees, et cetera.
Oh, yes.
Do you want to talk about that, or
Well, the
you
only-
know about it, so.
The only thing that I do know about it is that all the vets or the shelters are not going to be taking dogs that have been seized. So everyone in the whole county is in crisis now to get somewhere to house dogs that are seized. And I think may know the rest of what the county is trying to put together, because what it will do if they take away the licensing, what happens now is some of the people that shelters will take dogs do not have the credentials to do a rabies. And if you can't do a rabies shot, you can't get licensed. So that's in a predicament that we have right now. And we don't have agreement with anybody else.
I'll tell you how confusing and frustrating it is. I went to a supervisor's luncheon last Friday, and all that just about every attendee said was, what the hell are we gonna do now? So we're getting zero direction, and we've got processes in place that might not work next month. And I agree, I mirror that. What the hell are we gonna do now? So we're trying to figure out a way to get past that, not on a county basis, but on a town basis. And there are some hoops and hurdles that Clerk Busey talked about, but hopefully we'll get through them. We don't need to go back to having stray dogs running around our town because we have no place to incarcerate them.
And dogs will still need to be licensed. And if they do need to be licensed and somebody else likes them, we'll lose that revenue.
Is even Lollipop not going to be
They
accepting that?
will not be accepting DL18s anymore.
No lollipops, Phyllis,
Wow. Wow.
unfortunately.
What about Livingston County?
There are no shelters. I don't know about Livingston County.
So we might want to look at the Avon.
We just
Veterinary
reached an agreement with, was it the Pittsford Animal Hospital?
Yeah,
Versus
they
the-
were just covering during COVID.
Yeah, well, all of a sudden, we had an
Suburban.
agreement reached with them, and all of a sudden, last week, they said, oh, really? So anyway, you'll hear more on this in the future. How about Attorney Mancuso?
No report.
Okay. I don't think Assessor Minio is with us. I do know that building inspector and fellow code enforcement officer, John Limbeck, is with us.
Good evening, everybody. How's everybody? Since the last town board meeting, 3 new building permits have been issued, including another new single-family residence on Honeoye Falls 5 Points Road. To date, the town has issued 135 building permits with an approximate value of $4.9 million. I'm continuing to make progress closing out the building permits issued in 2020, and right now there's 23 still open. I included a report that the supervisor referenced at our last meeting from our permitting system that shows how many building permits have been issued for single-family dwellings from January 1st, 2017 through the end of this year. In that period, 33 new residences have been built or are currently under construction. The report that I included, you'll notice that there's some handwritten values included in this report. I'm initiating a conversation with our software consultants to determine how these values can be entered into the system to be included in the report. Since we first got this software, there's been several updates, and I just have to understand where the fields are for perhaps the values of the homes, those types of things, just to make it a little more complete. But that is the type of report that the system will generate for us. I sent a note earlier this week to the board, the clerk, and the attorney regarding Town Code Section 136-13B, which relates to elements of work to be inspected. This relates to the issued building permits. And my issue lies with the current code language that lists very specific inspections. And I would suggest that the list of inspections be removed and replaced with a statement that says the building inspector will list the inspections for each permit that is issued, and inspections will reflect the requirements of the most current editions of the New York State Uniform Building, Fire, and Energy Conservation Codes. And again, there's some inspections in there that are no longer required. There's inspections that are required that are not listed in the code. And rather than changing that every time there's a code cycle, if we just had that generic statement that the inspections will reflect the codes of the time, I think would be in a better position. So I just want people to think about that probably after the first of the year. I don't know if we have to have a public hearing in order to make that change, but I'll suggest it again in the new year. I did submit my reappointment form to the town clerk, and the 2022 proposed fee schedule will be discussed during the new business section of the meeting. And I just wanted to note that the agenda calls it the building department fee schedule. There's also fees on there for the planning board, the zoning board, and the town board. So it's a little more than the building code is, or the building department itself. Are there any questions or comments on my portion of the report before I get into Rick's?
John, I do have just a comment.
Okay.
You have, over the past probably 6-8 months, recommended changes to the code several times. And I would like to see that, and we've talked about this not only at the planning board level, as well as the zoning board of appeals level, that there are codes in the town of Rush that need to be reviewed and looked at. You've made several suggestions on changes. I would like to see that in the coming year, a committee that's made up of not only the building inspector, but a member from each of the sub boards, as well as a town board member, get together and start making a plan to review the codes of the town. You can do it by sections. You can do it, a quarterly, take a group of them and go down through and make recommendations and bring it back to the board. When I sat on the Rush Henrietta School Board, we did that on a regular basis, and over a 4-year cycle, we reviewed every single policy, every single regulation, and updated it to make it current and relevant. So I believe that that is something that this town has long overdue put off. So I would recommend that that start happening in the new year.
Before you respond, John, I would like to ask Councilperson Wickerham, which category of codes are you referring to?
All of them, from the top
We
down.
have no option with the state codes.
Well, but
We do have option with the town code.
the state does send updates to theirs. Have we made sure that our town codes, the listed town codes based on state regulations have been updated according to what the state has recommended?
As I recall, John, correct me if I'm wrong, those codes are represented in their accuracy by the code books that we purchase.
Yes, the current code books that we've got from the state are accurate. I think what Councilwoman Wickerham is referring to is our town code and some of the various sections therein that would be updated.
And is it correct to state that the town codes have to be equal to or more restrictive than the state codes?
Oh, no, our town code accurately acknowledges the most current editions of the state codes, but the codes that I think are being alluded to are like our zoning code, some of the other various codes that just need updating that haven't
Okay.
happened in many years.
Many years.
Thank you for answering my question.
Okay, and I would be glad to assist with that type of an operation to look through those.
That's also a good time, Councilperson Corbin, that if you wanted to add process and procedure, you add those to the town code during those
Well, the
reviews.
town board, as I have worked with Attorney Mancuso in my first year on this board, the town board has the authority. to
Right, exactly.
determine
So
that.
what would
And
happen
In
is,
previous, excuse, just a minute, in previous years, I think 2017, 2018, there was a committee that went through the code.
right,
So this is not something that has not been looked into,
right.
but it's always good to look at new things.
There goes Helios.
That's all, Supervisor.
Thank you
that's-
very much.
That is something that could be looked at during the code.
Correct.
Thank you.
Correct.
And anything that the committee suggests has to come back to the town board. I mean, that is because you would have to
we
approve it,
understand
so that is,
We
yes.
understand that.
That would be the process.
Anything else?
Mm.
All right.
I think.
Okay, I've got the fire marshal, code enforcement, and emergency preparedness, and some of this has already been reported on, but Rick did pick up the COVID test kits last week from Monroe County Fleet Center. Rick and Dick Schneider conducted the COVID test kit distribution on Saturday, the 11th. And thanks to Dick for his assistance with this. And as of Sunday, the 19th, 692 test kits have been provided to our residents. And again, thank you to Councilwoman Corbin for distributing 8 kits to seniors that missed the distribution due to a bus trip. And thank you also to the town clerk and deputy town clerk for passing them out to residents that have come to the town hall. Rick also completed and returned the reappointment questionnaire to the town clerk. Rick received a concern about sewage odor on Honeoye Falls 5 Points Road and worked with the Monroe County Department of Public Health Sanitation for an investigation. Also researched information for FOIL requests on West Henrietta Road and Creekside Drive. Rick acknowledges that he got his copier code from the town clerk. And he did have one agricultural burn authorization issued during the last week. and he's working on a property maintenance complaint on Rush Mendon Road. And that was the end of his report. So if there's any questions or comments, I can get them back to him tomorrow.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
Appreciate it. I don't think our finance director, Christine, is with us.
Let me double check. Do not see her on.
And I don't think our highway superintendent, Mark David, is with us. But he, I don't know if he's happy or sad because we haven't used anywhere near the amount of salt this year that we did last year or the year
He'll
before.
make up for it tonight.
But I think you could be right about that. How about historian Sue Me?
You know, she always catches me and I say she's not here, but I do not see her. Let me
Well,
double
I'm
check.
here. I'm here, Amber.
She did it again.
And the year with consistency. I actually have no report. It's just been business as usual. So that's it.
That was okay. I like your approach.
She shows up.
Quick and easy.
How about a library report?
No report from the library.
Okay, and I do know that Pat Stevens is on Zoom. So
I'm
Pat,
here.
or
Someone has to unmute me. Am I unmuted?
Oh,
You are.
Where'd she go?
We
We just heard you, Pat.
Who's that contract?
Yeah, you, Pat. Okay, I see you, Pat. We heard you a minute ago. Ask to unmute.
Hello, everyone.
Yeah.
Everything in recreation is doing well. I do have the lifespan contract here that we'll talk about later. Everything's going extremely well in the recreation department. I did want to say, which I'm not sure why I've never mentioned it before, that Phyllis and I are part of a Rush Henrietta Health and Safety Coalition committee that meets once a month at the Henrietta Ambulance. And on our committee is the ambulance group, National Guard, Phyllis, myself, the town of Henrietta. Phyllis, who else am I missing in this?
We have the recreation supervisor or in Henrietta. We also have the coalition or the agency that does with that deals with what's Lexi in her alcohol and tobacco advocacy group. We also have the school district. We have the social worker from the high school / junior high school, as well as the equity director and the assistant superintendent for student and family services, as well as DePaul Mental Health Association. And the group is, you want to go ahead and explain it, Pat?
That's okay. We meet monthly and right now we're in the process of applying for a grant because of the fact that there has been so many overdoses since COVID has been here. Everyone is doing a certain part of the grant, but I believe it's for 125,000, isn't it, Phyllis?
Yes.
So we're hoping to be able to get that grant. So we have different people in the community that we're reaching out to. There's seniors, there is church personnel, there is people in businesses. So if anyone is interested in actually helping us, reach out and be able to help these poor people that are having issues. It's been a great coalition. It's very, I don't know, everyone's very knowledgeable about what's going on in the community. It's very sad what's going on. But I just wanted to talk about that because I thought that was a great thing that we're working on right now. And
I just
go ahead, Phyllis.
pulled up the mission and vision statement. The Rush and Henrietta Community Health and Safety Coalition is a collaboration of residents and representatives from local community organizations. The vision is for a community of safe and healthy youth. Mission to unify and mobilize the communities of Rush and Henrietta to keep our kids safe from harmful influences and promote positive and drug-free development of all of our youth. It is the past couple of months, we've been discussing the passage of legalization of marijuana. We've also been talking about the possibilities of consumption bars and retail establishments coming in. All of those types of things are being considered when this grant money will educate not only youth, but also families and caregivers or guardians in the signs of distress. We also talk about the mental health issues that have been happening because of COVID. So I think everyone in both communities should be extremely aware that there are issues that need to be dealt with, but there are resources like the coalition to help educate. Part of the grant money will also go towards producing videos that will be able to be put on the school district website as well as the coalition's Facebook page, so that when parents, we all know parents are very busy and they can't attend meetings all the time to see these types of things. So what the videos will do is offer them at their leisure, go in, click on, get information on a particular subject, and then be able to have conversations with their children. So the coalition has been in existence, what, Pat, probably for 20 years?
Yep.
Yeah. So it is not something.
I've been a part of it like 4 or 5 years now, but yeah, the only thing that I was concerned about was the marijuana, the passage of the marijuana selling in the town, because once we pass that law, we can't change it. So we were just talking about how people are going to.
All we have to do is just do
with it.
anything.
And we've already done
And we've
that.
already done that. So once December 31st comes, there's no getting out of it. So,
Okay.
and my position on the coalition is to represent the state senator as a legislative component, but there are requirements for 12 different community components to be members of the coalition. So if you are interested, we have a senior citizen component, we
Yep.
have a healthcare worker component, we have a family member component. There are, like I said, 12 different components. And if anyone in the audience, or if you know someone who might be interested in joining, we meet the third Thursday of every month at the ambulance in Henrietta at 8 a.m. or by Zoom if you choose not to get up that early. So, but we are looking for extra members.
Thank you. Yeah, it's a great committee, but thank you very much. But everything is great with recreation. I'll wait to talk about the lifespan contract. Thank you.
Thank you, Pat. And I just want to add, I already revealed that I was at a county supervisors meeting last Friday. And the two dominant conversations were, I've already revealed that, is dog control and incarceration, I'll call it, or harboring, whatever it's called. The other thing is, everybody's saying, with all of the troubles we've got in schools, with all of the troubles we've got with youth, who the heck would approve legalization of marijuana? And
All about the money.
there's another one. Nobody has the answer. All of the supervisors said, are you kidding me? Nobody has an answer. So that remains to be seen to the finish line. We have no old business to conduct, so we will move on to new business. And the number one item under new business is a resolution to approve the 2021 New York State and Local Retirement System Standard Workday Report.
Oh, We don't have that.
We don't have that. Pam, did you want to comment on that so people know what we're talking about?
Yeah, what we're talking about is ROA is record of activities for any elected or appointed official that has a salary, must report within the first 150 days of being in that position, their record of activities for 3 months. Those activities are good for 8 years unless those activities change. So the newly elected officials will have to do that. This year, the officials were not asked to submit that information. So we have talked to the New York State Comptroller's Office, and we do have the one, doing a resolution now, 2, doing a resolution at a separately scheduled meeting, or putting it off to 2022 to do the 2021 resolution for record of activities. And this is all having to do with the retirement program. So your retirement information could be suspended if that type of information is not submitted and not submitted in timely fashion. So my recommendation, and agreed to also to the finance director, is that we put it off until 2022, just to make sure everything is accurate. The town board does review that information, and that is their obligation to look at that information before the resolution is approved.
And I believe the state controller approved that, or the office of the state controller approved us postponing responding.
Yeah, they did give us those 3 options.
Yep. Okay,
So how is that going to work with 2 of us not being on the board, but you approving what our standard workday is?
well, I think this is a case where you've got to rely somewhat on something similar to the law of averages. We know basically what has been submitted in the past by town board members, I think.
Well, both Brian and I have submitted those reports.
And guess what? That'll play into the report that we submit. It's got to, because it's documented. Now, can the new people respond? No, they can't, because they have no experience, but they will in the future.
Well, it's only if they're going to be participating in the retirement system.
So our retirement will not be, because both Brian and I are in the retirement
Right.
system because of
So-
our full-time jobs.
So we will approve it in 2022, based on what the town clerk just said. Right, so that your names will be on there, and there's a number from what, you have more experience, but that's what I recall. Each employee has that.
This is also a new law of the board reviewing that record of activity. This is just a new law.
Yeah, I haven't seen that before.
Right. Previously, it was submitted, calculated, and we did resolution, and then I submitted it to the comptroller's office.
Will we get some kind of notification when that goes through so that we have documentation
It will
for
be
the
in the minute.
retirement system?
It's probably, each year it's in the minutes, what I've seen.
Yeah, but the
Well,
record of activity that we submitted this year was already had to be submitted to the retirement system
Right,
without any new laws taking effect
Right.
on that.
Will you get
Reporting.
confirmation of that?
yes, that's what we're wondering, because if we have an issue when we go to retire and we say, hey,
That's a problem.
yeah, it's a problem, I want to make sure that we have,
The
Go ahead,
The
Pam.
confirmation will go with, it is the town clerk's responsibility to load it into the retirement system,
okay,
and then I get a confirmation and it's posted.
okay,
So
okay,
it will be done.
okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, yes. If there are no other comments, we will require or request that Pat return and talk to us about the contract for the Tai Chi matter of balance classes.
Tai Chi.
Tai Chi?
Yeah.
Oh.
I'm
I
here.
can't even let alone spell it or pronounce it.
I have a contract with Lifespan to be able to offer classes in Tai Chi additionally for 2020 and for a matter of balance class. I had John look over the contract and he said it was fine, but we needed to have it approved by the town board. Does anybody have any questions about the contract?
It was identical to the first one.
That's what I
Right.
thought.
So it's for a full year, just January 1st to
No,
December.
3 months.
Yeah,
Well,
Is
I
that-
figured if we did it for the whole year, we wouldn't have to revisit this again for a full year, but we're going to be doing programs throughout all next year.
In the actual contract though, Pat, I read down to the term of the contract and it said it runs from
Right.
January 1st, 2022 and continues until December 31st.
right.
Well, it's because
Yeah.
we do 8-week sessions.
Right.
Um,
It says
well,
it can continue to review,
Yeah.
so
Right.
in the resolution, should it be for the
Exactly.
full year, right?
Yes, otherwise you'll
Yeah.
have to redo.
Do it every time.
Yeah.
Yes, yes.
So
Through December.
through December.
Pat, I have a question based on curiosity.
Sure.
Do you have the demographics for the people who sign up for this class?
Yeah.
Well, as far as attendees, it's been mostly local residents. And the programs are during the day, so it's been the senior population. And these classes, like the Matter of Balance class, that one is built to prevent falls. It's kind of what I went to college for. It's to help seniors to learn to balance themselves so they don't fall and fracture a hip. So these two women instructors are trained through Lifespan to be able to teach the elderly to help themselves when they're losing their balance so they don't have to go to the hospital. So that's what that class is specifically about. The initial Tai Chi class went extremely well, and we had some people from Henrietta as well. And they liked it so much they wanted to have a second one. So some of them went on, and I have another one going on right now. So that falls under the other contract that we had existing. So that one is still in order, but a majority of the people are in rush, and actually I'm really glad it's going so well.
So am I.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Attorney Mancuso, do we need to add that it is subject still to your review and approval, or? if we're good
Nope,
with
I
that part?
reviewed it,
Okay.
I'm all set, thank you.
Well, then I move to authorize the supervisor to sign a contract with Lifespan of Greater Rochester, Inc. to conduct Tai Chi and Matter of Balance classes from January 1st, 2022 through December 31st, 2022 in the William R. Eustace Pavilion, 1900 Rush Scottsville Road, Rush, New York.
I'll second that.
Councilman Corbin,
Aye.
Councilman Lang,
Aye.
Councilman Wickerham,
Aye.
Councilman Wolver,
Aye.
Supervisor Cusie,
Aye.
I'm sorry that I didn't specify for them to write in the contract it's revolving 8-week sessions. It would have probably been more clear at that time instead of looking like it's going throughout the entire year. So that's my fault. Sorry about that.
What are the breaks in between? It's only a couple weeks, right?
Yes, yes.
I'm more upset, Pat, that I've mentioned Tai Chi several times and you haven't told me it was Tai Chi.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, Pat.
Thank you.
All right. Number 4 on our list of new business was a resolution to approve the 2022 building department fee schedule. John?
Yes, I'm here. I don't know. I sent this out a couple of weeks ago with a list of explanations. I've done some individual questions with different board members. I didn't know if there were other questions or other explanations. Not sure how you wanted to do this, Jerry.
I have read, personally, I have read your proposal and as you know, I agreed with it. I don't know what the other board members have in mind and I don't know what what their desire to discuss this is. I think it's right in line with where we should be for 2022.
I will share with the board and everyone, as well as Mr. Lembeck, that originally the administrative fee was higher at 25%, and I felt that that was too high. It was 10%, I believe, town clerk before.
Yeah.
And now the building inspector is proposing 15%. So my, just for everyone's clarification, if I come in and I want to do a site plan and I have to go to the planning board, and my work with the engineer or town attorney is $500, I'm gonna get a bill for $500 plus 15% on top of that. If I
Correct.
come in and I have a $2,000 before the planning board or zoning board, I will also be charged an additional administrative fee of 15% on what those legal or engineering fees are.
Right.
So I am sharing my screen. I hope, is that acceptable with everyone?
And I-
John, just out of respect to those on the board and those in attendance, do you have just take a guess breakdown of the number of permits that are in the $500 to $1,000 range versus the number that are over 1,000?
Those fees that are showing right there for the demolition for the commercial, you can see that those have gone up. I haven't gotten any this year at all. And the reason I jumped those is with the asbestos regulations and with some of the new building code requirements, the inspections would be more numerous, and it's going to take some more plan review type things. And I wanted to make sure that we were covered adequately for the time that that's going to take to do those.
Yeah, I think I certainly agree with you. I asked the question because I remember one time several years ago, I asked for a proposal on demolition of one of the barns at the BOSI site. And as I recall, it was in the area of $65,000. And then I read somewhere more recently that a demolition proposal for that same building was like $25,000. So there's a big spread there.
Yes. And again,
And-
it's all going to depend on a lot of your structural elements, your health and safety. If you've got to get into lead abatement or asbestos abatement, or, you know, some of the other areas, it can get a little pricey.
Okay. You did have a couple of things in here that you asked for consideration of eliminating.
Yes,
Uh,
one of them was the roofing permit. We're one of the only towns in Monroe County that requires a building permit fee for roofing. And I've gotten that's probably the largest complaint I get from contractors and from residents. And I spoke with the supervisor about that, and one of the concerns is one of the reasons it was initially set up in the town of Rush was because they wanted to make sure that we were getting good quality roofing contractors, and having a permit and an inspection was one way to handle that. So that's why I suggested, you know, it could be eliminated. It's up to the town board how they'd want to address that.
Is it up to the town to tell a resident what contractor they're allowed to use?
No, I'm not allowed to recommend contractors. They get a contractor comes in. If somebody's getting a contractor to do work, the state requires that I obtain a copy of their current workers' compensation insurance certificates. And they have to give us a liability insurance certificate that names the town of Rush as additionally insured on a primary and non-contributory basis. And that shows that they're carrying the right insurance for their workers. We're named as additionally insured. But again, we want to make sure that they're doing the right things with the residents. The state says right now you can only put a new roof over one existing roof. It used to be two. The state says that they've got to do in this area ice and water shield up a certain distance from the edge of the roof. So, that's one of the inspections that I do. But again, the feedback I get from the contractors and the residents is that they think it's a money grab. So
Without this permit, we don't require the insurance and all of that, and we don't assume liability because we're not checking it.
right.
But are we, do we have a fee to put a roof on?
No, it's the same permit, whether it's a re-roof or a brand, if they have to do a tear off, it's the same fee.
Well,
Same
then I guess
inspections.
we should probably consider just changing the category to tear off roofing permit and charge the $100, which I would consider reasonable, but I agree with most people, to do a re-roof over something that's already there is basically like putting wallpaper on your wallboard.
Pretty close,
Yeah,
pretty close.
yeah, that was a little weird.
Yeah, well,
I
I'm
wanted to
ready.
mention
So-
also, in the where we've been category, as you know, metal roofs started to take on a life of their own a few years ago.
Oh,
We had one house in Rush that was roofed by a metal roof contractor that ended up in court. It had 11 faults in the application of the new metal roof. That's the kind of stuff we were hoping to try to void or eliminate or guard against.
My personal thought on that is by eliminating it, because if you had a situation where you make somebody come in to get a permit, they get a permit, now the homeowner is going to have recourse against the town saying, hey, wait a
Right.
second, I got a permit, you should have been able to
Right.
check or verify this, and
Right.
vice versa. If someone does have a contractor come in and doesn't get a permit, and they put it up, they're gonna come back to the town and say, you didn't make this guy get a permit. So it's a
Right.
catch-22 both ways.
Yeah.
I agree with John in perhaps eliminating it. I could see if it protected like a senior from getting scammed from a roofer coming in, taking their money, and they're calling the town to see if a permit was issued or what have you, and say, we can say, no permit was issued. It might be an extra layer for a senior, but
Yeah.
outside of the town's liability, I think
right.
elimination of that particular fee based upon residents complaining mostly to Mr. Lindbeck.
Mhm.
It whether it be a re-roof or tear off,
Yeah,
it is a
Yeah.
fee that who knows if half the contractors do it or half the contractors don't.
Attorney Mancuso, do you have an opinion in the matter?
No, I mean, I largely, in terms of the town's liability, there's probably a lot of analysis I could go into about various unity from issuance of invalid permit, erroneously issued permits, or work that may be done by a contractor based on a validly issued permit, because just because the town issues an approval does not mean that the town is responsible for what may happen based on that approval. I think the fee is really discretionary based on, whether the town board believes that fee should be appropriately collected, or as the building inspector is suggesting that, residents are complaining and that's a reason to eliminate the fee.
May I ask for clarification? Eliminating the fee, but still requiring the permit, or removing everything?
I'm only speaking about the fee
The
that's being
fee, that's what I
charged,
wanted
not-
to clarify.
Not whether or not a permit should be required or not. That's a separate question.
yeah, that is a separate question.
That's what I heard you say, so I didn't know if we were all on that same page or not.
Oh, that's a good point.
If it's gonna require John to go out and inspect it, which a permit would, then we'd have to charge. a fee.
Right.
Right.
John, did you take that into consideration? That, were you planning on eliminating the permit altogether?
That's a question for the board. If the board wants to keep the permit process that we have right now with the fee, I'm okay with that. This is also one of the things that it's very difficult to catch. Several times, I've been out on other inspections and I see a roof going on. And I stop and they didn't get a permit. But how much of that happens that doesn't get caught?
Right.
So
Right.
I can go any way with this,
I'd like to hear Councilman Oliver, because you are knowledgeable over me, so I've heard that.
It's nice to have the inspector come out and make sure it's done right. But I've also seen sometimes with a roofing contractor, it's in and out, and
Overnight.
it's just a step that slows down the process. And with weather, if it's a good day to put on a roof and it needs a roof, you probably should get it done.
And the other question that I would have is, if it's a do-it-yourself, if we have, I mean, you know how to do it.
Yeah.
If you wanted to go do your own,
Mhm.
are you required to have a permit, or is it only when you're hiring out?
No, you have to have, if right now, if you do the roof yourself, you still have to get the permit, but you have to have witnessed and notarized that you're doing it yourself so that you aren't required to provide the insurance coverage that a contractor would have to provide.
We approved that.
Yeah, I
a
know.
few
Yeah,
months
so it
ago.
was that, part of that.
Mhm.
The one thing that I'm seeing on your post is that the re-roofing says $50, but the one I have on my computer says 100. So
Oh,
I
I'm
guess,
sorry, it's been $50 since I've been here.
okay, so the 100 on here is wrong.
Yes.
Okay.
I don't know what
Whatever.
one you have.
Yeah,
This
it
is the
was the
one
one
that,
that-
this is the one he sent to us.
Yeah, this is the one I got off of his
This is-
email.
oh,
Oh, okay, anyways, so what's our pleasure? Eliminate it or keep it?
Another issue that was not dominant, but it happened a few times. And that was when the state increased the ice and water shield.
Mm,
Uh,
Requirements, yeah.
Some contractors didn't want to follow that. And that's a no-no.
It really makes sense to do.
Okay,
Mix of water.
All right.
Absolutely. Well, it makes sense, but
okay.
I go along with the board.
From what I'm hearing, it sounds like it would be best to keep it as is.
All right, the next thing I noticed is down a little farther, it says operating permits eliminate. What is an operating permit?
My question exactly.
Okay, there you go.
Isn't
It's
the
down underneath H of the electrical, Amber.
Isn't permit that the code enforcement officer issues for like the carnival every year an operating permit?
I mean, it's under
And
construction though.
wouldn't our fall festival require an operating permit?
Well, we'd have to look up the definition in the code what
I don't,
operating permit is.
Yeah,
I
I
don't
mean,
know
these
that I've
are,
ever come across an operating permit.
I'll leave it in there.
Yeah.
Then.
We've not sold them.
If we haven't sold any, then no harm, no foul.
I think we have.
it's another money grab though, we'll be accused of.
Well,
Pat,
no,
are you still on?
no, I believe she signed
Yeah,
off.
no,
Oh,
but it's under all of the construction type of stuff. It's under electrical, it's under HVAC, it's under deck sheds, so operating permit just kind of either is out of place in this particular category or,
Here we go.
What
Oh.
do you have?
Section 3618, operating permits required for the manufacturing, storing, or handling of hazardous materials, activity, pyrotechnic devices,
oh,
carnival.
buildings containing one or more areas of public assembly with an occupant load of 100 persons or more.
oh,
So yeah, we have a section on the code that deals with operating permits.
Then,
Yeah.
then we need to.
I guess
and
that
we
was
need
applied
to
for
keep
one in a
that
very long
and,
time.
yeah,
Maybe put it in a
Doesn't exist.
different location. or
That
something.
would be easier to find.
Fireworks.
You weren't looking for cement.
Road
then
work
the-
permits, types
There's
of
a couple
permit.
people that have bunkers.
Carnivals,
what it
fails,
is?
and
Oh.
special events for over.
Or
30.
people who are gonna do fireworks
Yeah.
at their home, they,
Yeah.
I know they've gone and gotten permits.
So-
Fence to family recreation fee.
I
I think if it's okay with the board, I'll reference code section 3618 right in the fee schedule, put that in parentheses.
That would be
Yes,
helpful.
yes.
Yep.
And then we might also want to remind the fire department that they need an operating fee for their carnival.
For events over 300 people, except those events associated with 1 or 2 family residential use.
Right.
They got a permit for the fire, for the,
Well, that's gotta be it
And that
then.
would be.
Or maybe
Yeah.
that's it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, yeah.
Okay.
That's all I noticed. Yeah.
As long as we're talking about eliminated permits and reviewing this with Mark David, and the roadwork permits, we have 2 permit fees, one for a residential driveway on a county or state highway, and also a commercial driveway on a county or state highway. And he reminded me that the county and the state already charge the applicant a fee for that, so we would be double dipping if we charged a fee. So
Okay.
was fine with this one.
Okay.
What did you guys think?
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
So are we eliminating both? Right?
right.
No, eliminating any of it.
No, the residential and commercial. yes.
Oh, yeah.
Right, yes. So those 2 will be eliminated, is that correct?
Yes, we would only charge for access onto a town highway.
Okay,
Not county and state,
right,
which is the other.
right. Just, I wanted to verify, I know we have the fee, local law about the charging for the administrative fees and things like that. And I know we had the same discussion last year. When I get down to variances for zoning board, it says legal fees incurred for 15%. There's an administrative fee, but it's about engineering. We need, John Lindbeck, do we need to add that? I know it's in our local law, but
Well, it's down underneath planning board, site
Right.
review plan.
I'm up on zoning board.
Do we have usually the engineer do anything at the
No.
zoning board of
Yes.
appeals?
Todd does not do anything for the
Right.
zoning board unless asked specifically.
Right, but do we need to have it here to get the reimbursement if it were to happen?
That could happen.
Yeah, so, well, that's a question, I guess, so the town, generally speaking, the planning board will charge the fee on top of Todd's bill.
Right.
The town has not historically ever charged back attorney's fees to any applicant with the exception of what I will call the large scale projects.
Right.
Which we then invoke the separate section of the town code to set up escrow or reimbursement in that regard. Which is The policy decision. Somebody.
I was asked another question, and it was that same one under planning board, where all engineering fees incurred by the planning board. It was suggested that that read all engineering and or legal fees.
I think you could probably say that in all of the categories there. I mean, under the zoning board, under the planning board application, under the planning board permit, site plan review. Okay, we've got planning board application for site plan review heading twice.
Tell me what number you're on, Councilwoman Graham, because
Um,
I'm sharing.
I'm on 113-ish, 107 has one of those
Right, that's where I just was.
disclaimers. So all legal and or engineering fees would work.
Okay,
And then under number 130, under a re-subdivision. What, no, that's a site plan for planning board. Number 130, Amber.
Yep, I'm there.
Okay, the same thing, all engineering and or legal fees. And we're changing that to 15%. Mine still
Correct.
has.
He
25.
sent two
Okay.
different emails, so I
Okay.
think you've got the old one.
And then under 139, I guess it's continued.
And what that one is. Okay, now wait a minute.
Says at the discretion of the building department,
It's going
plan
down.
review or consultation to be billed.
That is if we were to get an application that was so large that we determined we needed to go to an outside engineering firm to get inspection or plan review assistance. We could do that with this fee here.
Okay,
You probably want to put the same language though.
yeah, the same
Engineering
language
fees
all the way
and/or-
down. Anywhere we're charging an administrative fee, I'd put both
Right.
and or.
Should be and. I don't know what the or.
Not
No,
always.
because
not always.
they now,
Sometimes it
they
could be
don't always
one or
have the,
both.
yeah, both.
That's what I mean.
Yeah, so and
It's not
or, and or.
Engineering fees and-
Engineering fees or legal fees
Or both.
or both. So it's an and or.
Oh,
And
So
then
for
down
each-
here,
each of those categories, I'll put for any legal and or engineering fees.
right, down under number 148, yeah. That way you're covered.
Yeah, if you only use one a year, it
well,
saves having everybody scramble to say, what do we do now?
Right,
and I know we discussed it last year at the same time, and we felt it was covered by local law or number it
2
is,
of 19.
2 of 19.
but
But having it here,
Yeah.
we'll find it versus trying to
Yeah.
find the local law in
It's-
E code.
And it's
although
also-
we had people find the local law
It's
for
also in the
$10 on a
application.
fence.
Oh, it's so we need to revise the application.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah, in the footer, I believe under the signature block, that language appears on the,
true.
at least on the planning
We
board's
don't have it on the
applications. I don't think it's
Yeah.
on zoning because
Yeah.
they never charge
Yeah.
the applicant anything.
But it
But
probably
that
wouldn't be a
that
bad
form
idea
needs
to
to
add
be
it.
Updated if it's still the 2003 form that you
Yeah.
and I started
one
and
needs
never
a lot
got
of-
adopted.
A lot of
Or
attention.
anything else.
Yeah.
That was our first one too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you have to change the percentage anyways, so,
Right, right.
yeah, so those
They'll
need
have
to be updated, yeah,
Well, they're all, yeah, right.
yeah. Okay,
Are there any others you want me to share for everyone to see? Questions?
those are the only things I caught.
John, any other comments?
No, there were a couple of the permits where we used to just have small and large, like that one that's right there now on number 3 and 4. And it was kind of a discretionary thing, what's small, what's large. So I just added some qualifiers, to make it, fairer for everybody so that, we had an exact figure to look at.
That's a good thing.
Okay,
Good upgrade. Would
Perfect.
someone like to read the resolution?
we need to give it a better title than building, just plain old.
Well, that's all it says in the
Okay,
resolution.
okay, fee
I
schedule.
so move to approve the 2022 as presented and amended by the building inspector.
I'll second that.
Councilwoman Corbin,
Aye.
Councilman Lang,
Aye.
Councilwoman Wickerham,
Aye.
Councilman Wilbur,
Aye.
Supervisor Kusey.
Aye.
Thank you, everybody. I'll make the changes that were recommended here tonight, and I'll get that out to everybody for one last review, and then we'll have it in place for 2022.
Thank you, John.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Very
everybody.
much.
Will
Appreciate
it
it.
also be included in the organizational
Yes, it will.
resolutions? Okay.
All right, moving on to number 5. This gets rather complicated because we continue to discover faults in the application material. that prevents us from going ahead to process a seeker. And in addition, Attorney Mancuso informed me today that he had, I'll let him explain, but he has some issues that have to be dealt with before we can proceed with the seeker.
Well, so we received a letter from Hodgson Russ on, I think it was Friday, the 17th, which was the same day that the applicant also submitted another round of materials in response to the discussion that was had at the prior town board meeting. So I responded to Hodgson Russ today. In sum and substance, to summarize my response, I disagree with their proposition that the town board is in violation of that provision of the seeker regulations. That essentially specifies that within 20 days of certain events, the town board is supposed to make a determination of significance. One of those provisions speaks about receiving all necessary information to make a determination of significance. And obviously, as is the case with many projects, necessary information is often submitted well beyond a 20-day period based on engineering and other things that may be asked of an applicant. But as a practical matter, my understanding is that Todd Ewell has at least preliminarily reviewed some of that information, but is out of town and was unavailable for this meeting tonight. And will be memorializing some of his feedback on those most recent submissions. And so in sum and substance, in discussing it with the supervisor, I believe that the board is still reviewing the information, the most recent submissions that came in on December 17th, and the board's review remains ongoing. And my expectation, subject to board review, is that when we resolve that last issue, it may be then subjected to the part 2 review.
Any comments, questions, opinions? Thank you, John. We can now, in acknowledgement of this being a holiday week, move on to the public comment session. And would anyone in this audience like to make a public comment? Remember, this session is one where you can ask a question. If we're prepared, hopefully give you an answer. And there's no 3-minute time limit, but we ask for your cooperation in making sure we aren't here till 11 o'clock. Sir.
Hi, John Marley again, 535 Five Points Road. I don't know if this is relevant at this point, but the discussion about the 20 days got me thinking and looking into exactly what the town's responsibility is with regard to being the lead agency in a seeker process. And on item number 9 in the seeker handbook, the one from 2019, says the seeker statute and regulations do not. So the question is, may an agency deny an application without completing the seeker process? And they quit. And it says the seeker statute and regulations do not answer this question. Do not directly answer the question. However, some court cases have held that where the basis for a denial is based on the agency's underlying jurisdiction to approve an action, the agency does not have to comply with seeker before denying the action. And it gives some examples in court regarding cases involving rezoning certain lands or things that were not consistent with their law. So it wasn't clear one way or another, but it did make it sound like it is a possibility if it's something within your jurisdiction and there's some reason for it. That's that.
Thank you. Anyone on Zoom?
All quiet.
All
May I-
quiet up front.
May I ask a question, please?
Oh, it's Chandra. It's Chandra. He
Wow.
unmuted.
Chandra can speak.
Thank you. So we await the engineer's response to our last submission. Is that where we are at right now? On the Helios project, sorry.
Yes, well, I will say, the town board and the town engineer, I don't want to limit it just to him, but yes, I mean, the town engineer is going to be responding to the last round of submissions to identify any ongoing concerns with those documents.
Okay. And John, just to ask a question on your previous comment. We haven't seen that your response yet, but generally speaking, is there a 20-day period every time we submit something for you to be able to respond to us, to our submission?
I don't believe so, but our attorney could opine on that.
No, the seeker regulations that the letter we received from your council was referencing a section of the seeker regulations that deals with the time within which a lead agency is to make a determination of significance. Now that 20 days runs from, I believe it's 3 separate starting points, whichever is later. The one that I was referencing specifically is the later of the lead agency receiving all necessary information in order to allow for the lead agency to make a determination of significance. And obviously, given the fact that submissions continue to be ongoing, the lead agency is still evaluating that information and is not yet in a position to make the determination of significance.
Okay, I understand. Last question. When we submit something, how much time is reasonable to wait to expect a response to our submission?
I think that depends on the submission. You know, if it's a question that's easily capable of answering, I'm sure that will be more forthcoming than obviously more substantive engineering and studies, which, you know, may require evaluation by the town engineer, town attorney, and or multiple parties. So I don't have a direct answer to your question. It depends on the nature of the submission.
Okay, because we had one instance recently where it took almost 45 days to 2 months. All we can hope for is to get a quicker response to our submission so we can address your response.
In speaking with the town engineer, my expectation is that will be in early January when he returns to the office.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Thank you, Chandra. Would anyone else?
Yes, I
comment?
have a question. This is Shannon Wisnowski at 5 Works Road. I was just curious on the water and if the surveys have gone out and what progress we've made with that.
The surveys have not gone out. We are in the process of partnering with MRB Associates who made our presentation. We are going to send surveys out early in 2022. As I've said before, I don't like it, but it is a long, tedious process. And we want to make sure that a agency who has dealt with the surveys before has us incorporate their successful questions in this survey, so we know exactly what it is that the people in Rush want, and we don't get convoluted into trying to figure out what is it that they want. We want to know what it is they want, and we believe at this point it's water.
Okay, and so if we, you know, my neighbors and we'd like to start at least working on the process because we're in dire need of water, of looking at an extension just for our area. And I know that I've emailed in, I'm going to further email you about that again, because as this takes a long time, there are many of us on this road that are in dire need of water at this point.
And I am very well aware of that. I've been aware of it for several years. And it's a big frustration for me. Granted, I don't have to live without water like you and other neighbors do, but it is number one on my list of things that we can do to make the pleasure of living in the town of Rush back up high on everyone's list. Trying to live without potable water has got to be terrible. I've lived with terrible water in one case, but I know many of you people have lived without water at times, and the water isn't even suitable for washing cars. So be assured that we don't like how long it's taking, and that's why we wanted to get it started back in October. That's why we held the meeting, so that we can go forth and see what can possibly be done. As you know, I've communicated with you a couple of times, and as I said, it's a long, tedious process, but it's one that's the forefront of our agenda.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you. Anyone else?
No one in the chat.
All right, we will adjourn, but before we adjourn, I would like to acknowledge the year of service given to this town by Councilperson Ryan Lang and Councilperson Phyllis Wickerham. We didn't always agree on everything, but I think quite often, most often, the end target was very similar. How to get there was not often agreed upon, but I will recognize them for the end target being very similar in most cases. And I will personally thank the both of them.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. I will now propose
Wish everyone a Merry Christmas.
that
That too.
Deputy Supervisor Corbin wish everyone a Merry Christmas. And
And Happy New Year.
and a Happy New Year, and I join her
And a
on that.
better New Year.
And I propose we adjourn the meeting.
I will second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Ooh.